this is like the deadliest space fighters in science fiction, which I have a feeling I'm going to go on, not a rant. I feel like I'm about to go on a shit ton of reminiscing. Because you guys know me, and you guys know me with, like, movie stuff. I can tend to reminisce. So, no, not rant. Not rant. It just long, dreamy reminiscing. Because I don't suspect I'm going to rant on this one. But let's see what Giant Freakin Robot considers the deadliest space fighters in science fiction, and his ranking of them. The ranking I'm ahead take issue with. But ta-da!
Welcome back to Giant Freakin Robot. Space science fiction is a lot of things, but it's never more thrilling than when it takes place in a tiny, fragile dispenser of death. Starfighters are one of the best parts of science fiction, and while it's likely that in real space combat they might not actually be all that useful, this doesn't matter when it comes to enjoying good.
Well, Bobcat, the problem is it's in science fiction. I think when they classify science fiction, I'm guessing they're going to be movies and TV shows. I doubt they're going to use video games. I could be wrong. I could be very wrong, but I don't think they're going to go get video games.
Good storytelling. And just because it might not work, doesn't mean they have to be unrealistic. The best starfighters use real space physics to zoom around, dealing death and destruction. But if you're a space jock going into battle, what's your ride of choice? We're about to answer that question.
Okay.
These are the best sci-fi starfighters.
What's this?
Space, Above and Beyond, was developed specifically to be a series about space fighter pilots, so they had to get their fighter craft right. They did, and the result was
if
the
the
SA-43
Gunstar from Last Starfighter don't make #1, this thing is rigged.
Well, that's a tough call, Big Dog, because other than the Death Flower, the Gunstar, I don't know if it could be considered deadliest, just because it has the Death Flower mode. But this doesn't necessarily mean it might be the deadliest. Honestly. Space Above and Beyond, I vaguely remember did anybody ever see the Space Above and Beyond show? I kinda sort of vaguely remember hearing something about it somewhere, but I'd never actually seen it. Has anyone? No? You saw, okay, so Hasio, and we're Ravens, and Floptroy, okay. Was it good? Street DSM, you're saying you weren't a fan. For those of you that did see it, was it enjoyable? Was it a decent show? Nope. Cilantro, I loved it. Bobcat, you even recommended video talking about. Okay, so next, so we have sort of a mixed opinions on it. Okay, yeah, that's kind of typical. Oh, you're answering someone else, Laureate. Okay.
Hammerhead. 1990s special effects weren't quite up to the challenge of bringing the ship to life, but the design is undeniably great.
Oh, wait a minute. That's a design that I saw that's very interesting. They actually have retro thrusters. They have retro navigational thrusters. Here and here. Interesting. That's some nice attention to detail. Because Elite's got those too. On every Elite ship, they have retro thrusters that will fire for either turning or braking. So it's very interesting that in the 90s, they had a ship with this design.
Wondering if Roddenberry's Slip Fighters or Colonial Viper line is at least mentioned Cheer 200.
Well, Edgar, we're gonna find out. Now, I have no idea how many he's ranking here, just as the deadliest space fighters in science fiction ranked. I have no idea how many he's planning on talking about, so we'll find out about that.
The ship to life, but the design is undeniably great. The ship's design blends the aesthetic of real-world, modern fighter craft with that of the less aerodynamically limited environment of space. It's beautiful. Capable of flying both in a vacuum and in the atmosphere of a planet, the Hammerhead isn't as realistic as some of the fighter craft designs on this list. In space, the ship often swoops and turns like a jet.
Well, hang on. I want to see those controls. What are these controls? Is that a wheel? Or is it just like interesting choice for a control setup? Just two sticks that you basically... Huh, yeah. Is it a yoke? I don't even think it's a yoke, Duke of Dats. It doesn't even look like a yoke. It looks like two... I'm trying to remember what this controls. Is it a yoke? Okay, it is a yoke. It didn't look like it.
The ship often swoops and turns like a jet might in the atmosphere, though it is maneuvered with small attitude thrusters, which help it turn and rotate. Each Hammerhead carries 2 railguns, mounted on swiveling gimbals. So if a fighter comes up behind you, swing your guns to the rear and shoot backwards. One of the ship's most unique features is the way it launches and docks in space. The cockpit detaches from the ship and pops up into a pressurized hangar bay on its mothership.
Interesting. Okay.
When a pilot wants to launch, he gets in the cockpit, and it's lowered and reattached to the frame of his Hammerhead.
I'm actually not sure how much I like that setup. That the cockpit will detach like that. That feels like... yeah, clearly it also functions as an escape pod, big dog, but I feel like that's like a design flaw in some way. That if your ship gets struck into it, if your ship takes damage around the seaming of the pod, like it could either cause the cockpit to prematurely detach, and thus you're fucked. So, like, I can kind of understand how, like, okay, it make for a great ejection pod. Like, if the ship explodes, it just bounces you right out. That's all well and good. But...
do you think Saiyan space pods count? Vegeta doesn't need a Death Star. He is a Death Star.
Thank you, Thor. Thank you. I know. That's why I'm talking and I haven't unpaused the video. Thank you again, Thor. Yeah, and Baby Jesus, that was my point. Is it feels like the seam of the cockpit locking into the body of the ship is a significant failure point. Also, the integration of the ship systems into the cockpit is another failure point. Like, on other ships that don't have this design, if something goes awry, you can, like, get into it and fix it. Whereas, with this particular design, you are sealed in the cockpit. You cannot address mechanical failures on the fly. So that was the point I was making my way to after the first part. It does seem like it's a flaw. But it's interesting. Thank you, Thor, taking care of all the strays that don't have subs. And by the way, if you did just receive a gifted sub, number 1, please make sure you say thank you. And number 2, refresh your stream. If you just got a sub, please refresh your stream. You won't get any more ads. Exactly. Yeah, Kanito. You can't pull over, put the headphones on, get out, and fix it.
Cheer 100 Macross ships can transform into mecha.
Well, that's a whole different thing, Dura.
In addition to the show's CGI version of the ship, the Space Above and Beyond team also built full-scale models at an airbase in Australia. Those full-scale models were eventually shipped to the US, and the unproven myth around them is that a Russian soldier spotted them and took photos, thinking they were a new type of American tactical fighter. If it's so realistic it can fool Russian spies, then the Hammerhead belongs on this list.
It's as easy as eating pancakes.
Okay.
Be just like Beggar's Canyon back home.
Here we go. Oh, thank you. Thank you. So X-Wing is number 4 on this list. Oh god, how many of you guys have lit the torches and grabbed the pitchforks? That it's only number 4.
There are several different variations of the X-Wing used in Star Wars, but none has managed to top the T-65, used in the original Death Star trench run by Luke Skywalker and Wedge Antilles.
Okay, I was gonna say, that's not the T-65. That was obviously the T-70.
Death Star trench run by Luke Skywalker and Wedge.
What do you think about the upgraded version of the T-70 X-Wing from the new trilogy, where the X-Wing, the design is that it's the wing itself is smaller and it kind of fits together in more of a jigsaw puzzle way versus folding flat. You think it looks fine? Like, I don't have any outright objection to it. It definitely looks like it's sleek. It looks like it's sleeker. The body definitely looks thinner, for sure. Yeah, the color scheme is pretty nice.
Antilles.
But yeah, I mean, we like our OG
Unlike most of the
X-Wings.
other sci-fi starfighters you'll see on this list, there's nothing realistic about an X-Wing. The same is true for every ship in Star Wars. They ignore actual space physics in favor of banking and zooming around like World War II snub fighters pushing through an atmosphere.
Well, because George Lucas... Thank you, Gorflor. I mean, George Lucas made Star Wars as an allegory to the World War, so big shock, they treated the ships in it like fighter planes. So, yeah.
That's not a flaw, it's an intentional choice George Lucas made to create as much excitement around his starfighter dogfights as possible.
Yeah.
And of course it works brilliantly. The standard Star Wars X-Wing is a multifunctional craft. It only seats one human, but most X-Wings also carry an astromech droid to serve as their navigator.
One thing that always one thing always kind of like confused me? Chat, what you notice about the canopy here? What's one thing you notice about this canopy? It's blacked out. And, and I guess you could say it's tinted. Not the hinge. It's like the canopy is like blacked out. Well, no, I think the canopy does see it. I'm talking about the glass. It's like blacked out, but every time we see visuals of inside the X-Wing, they can see through it clearly. And in space, no, Falcon, I appreciate that. That was the first thing I thought of, but I would think that it would only tint out like this if you're getting direct light from a star. But it's blacked out on the planet. So, I mean, yeah, big dog, exact, yes, I appreciate that, but if you're not facing a star, you would just see black. Like, I would have expected there to be, like, a mechanism in place where if you're not directly facing a star, the glass would be clearer, and then there would be sensors that would detect when you are turning at a certain level of UV light detected, it would tint out. That's kind of what I expected. So this always kind of, like, stunned me a little bit in that respect, because in space, with tint this strong, you wouldn't be seeing shit. And that does not make for a great fighter. So that's always been my curiosity about that with this tint. Like, shouldn't there be like an automatic sensor on it that it auto tints it, but on the planetary surface like this tint should be gone. It should just be clear. That's just something that's always kind of just like irked me a little bit.
He seats one human, but most X-Wings also carry an astromech droid to serve as their navigator, and in a pinch to conduct repairs on the go. It's capable of both space flight and atmospheric flight. When not in combat, the X-Wing's S-foils, short for strike foils or stability foils, are usually kept closed. In this configuration, the starfighter is less deadly.
They hadn't invented transition glasses, but this was science fiction. They could have just made this shit up, you know?
Deadly, but easier to pilot, particularly in an atmosphere. When in battle...
Yeah, see, look! It's clear here! in space, and it looks like he has sun on him. It looks like he's facing the star. But the glass is clear. Yet when we saw Luke's X-Wing earlier in Atmo, the canopy was blacked out. You see where I'm like, this kind of like hooked me? This inconsistency? It was powered on when he landed too. How do you think the canopy raised? It was like, this was literally just after he landed. It could be, bottom line, I know why it was done. It was done because of just stylistic choice in that moment. That's what it is. Bearing in mind, I'm not like so off my rocker that I don't understand that it was a stylistic choice for that particular scene. Just like right now, it's a stylistic choice so these two can look at each other. I do understand that. Okay.
S-foils are locked in attack position, creating the X shape which gives the ship its name. X-wings are one of the few types of starfighters capable of hyperspace travel on their own. They also...
Wait, and right there. See, look. It's blacked out. But it's not facing a star. It's completely blacked out. You see that? It's totally blacked out. But again, this because these are models. So, couldn't be. Because in the scene we just saw, you can see through it. They're looking at each other. So yeah, I'm sure it's just a stylistic choice, or because this was a model, they had to just cobble together a bunch of models for this kind of job. I do understand that. It's a movie. It's budget. I do. It's just that, the Star Wars geek in me was just like, this doesn't make sense from a logic perspective. That's all.
They also boast heavy shields, 4 laser cannons, and 2 proton torpedo launchers. Star Wars is filled with amazing fighter designs, but the X-Wing is the franchise's best. It's so good that it's worth ignoring Lucas's choice to skew the ship's design more towards fantasy than science.
Thank you, Gore.
Starfighters.
Who was it that was asking for it? It ain't number 1. But here you go. Here you go. Big dog, it's not number 1. But here you go.
The Last Starfighter is an underappreciated 80s gem and a groundbreaking landmark in special effects as one of the first films to make significant use of computer-generated animation. Unfortunately,
Really?
even with all the cray supercomputers they used to render
God, chat. Watch the holographic here. Watch how it jitters.
generated animation. Unfortunately, even
You see that? The special effect, you can tell it's in its infancy because of the way that the holographic was jittering. Like the rest of the ship was kind of like jittering a little bit, but the holo was staying in place.
with all the cray supercomputers they used to render it, that computer animation doesn't
I can
hold up
sorta
and
answer
isn't
that
very
question. Back in the ye old times of 1970, CGI wasn't great. And they used minis to get the effect. So they blacked out the windows to not show the pilots.
Yeah, maybe just that's what I said. I said that, like, I understand, like, they were on a budget. Those that we saw, they were models. Yeah, that's exactly what I said.
very good. Because of that, modern viewers
Wait,
might not
you
have
rat
noticed just how
bastard.
cool the movie's hero ship, the Gunstar,
Wait. What's that actor's name?
to render it.
Hang on.
Animation. Unfortunately, even with all the cray supercomputers they use
That's the old man from RoboCop? Really? The CEO of OCP? That's the same actor? Really? It seems like he's taller. The old man in OCP I thought was kind of short. But maybe I'm wrong. Then again, he was standing next to Ronnie Cox, who is like probably like 6'2", so anybody will look short next to him.
as they used to render it. That computer animation doesn't hold up and isn't very good. Because of that, modern viewers might not have noticed just how cool the movie's hero ship, the Gunstar, actually is.
Yeah.
It's one of the best
Hey,
looking
guy.
starfighter designs ever imagined, and if you are
By the way, hang on. Check out this cockpit. That is a fucking cool cockpit. That is a really cool cockpit. That is an Elite Dangerous worthy cockpit. Granted, it would shatter the second you get into combat, so it's a huge design flaw. This right here, the nose of the ship, is a huge design flaw. As we experienced yesterday, when I was an Elite, how easy it is for you to take a blast to the cockpit and just have the canopy shatter. Yeah, it's a major design flaw in my opinion. It looks really cool. Armored, it doesn't matter if it's armored glass, big dog. It's still an exposed target. You take a direct hit on that, at least a couple times, it's going poof.
Modern viewers might not have noticed just how
But it's a
cool
cool
the
design.
movie's hero ship, the Gunstar, actually is.
Night Coyote.
It's one of the best-looking starfighter designs ever imagined, and if you are having a hard time figuring out why I'd say that, based on this image, then take a look at this.
Oh!
These images are concept art for a proposed Last Starfighter sequel, and they
That-
capture how amazing the
Oh.
Gunstar could be.
That's a cool design. That's an improvement. This is an improved design in my opinion. This and this, that's an improved design. I like that. It's more streamlined. It's more streamlined, doesn't look as awkward. And this one, it's got more of a blunt nose. But it has a more reasonable looking cockpit. Like more reasonable looking canopy. I like that style. That looks really cool.
And is. Gunstars don't just look good, they're incredibly realistic. They take full advantage of real
What?
space physics and function the way a spacecraft actually should. They're also armed to the teeth with wildly powerful
Eh.
primary weapons and a special secret weapon called Death Blossom, which blasts everything it has at the enemy all at once. Of course, using Death Blossom comes with a cost, that being that you're out of weapons and your ship is left dead in space. If it was easy, it wouldn't be fun. It's worth noting that in the last Starfighter, the term Starfighter actually refers to a Gunstar gunner and not the ship itself.
Uh-huh.
My apologies, Starfighter.
Now we think of Star.
You're right. You're right. It is him. I do recognize the voice when he just said that line. Yeah.
My apologies, Starfighter.
Yep. I recognize it now. Absolutely right.
Now we think of starfighters as spaceships, in no small part thanks to the last Starfighter, though that's not what the movie intended.
Give him hell, sir.
Oh, Battlestar.
Battlestar Galactica is
Viper
about a
Mark
lot of things,
II.
but chiefly it's about what happens aboard a carrier hauling around starfighters as they attempt to escape the
Yeah.
Cylons. That means the audience spends a lot of time in the show's fighters, and so
And what do you want to bet? That at least some inspiration for the Viper Mark III in Elite came from Battlestar's Viper Mark II. It's not exact, but you can see the inspiration. Hang on. You can kinda sorta see a little bit with the wings, a tiny bit. Cockpit style. It's obviously it's skinnier. Obviously it's hot dog. But what you want to bet that they decided to call the Viper Mark III the Viper? Because of this. Because of this ship. I mean, there's some. Yeah, that is the Mark III. Okay, yeah. Oh my god. Why did I think the Viper Mark III was skinnier? I think I'm actually much more wrong than I thought. I thought that the Viper, my brain was thinking the Viper Mark III was skinnier than that. I was wrong. Yeah, it's not. Ah well.
We're lucky they did such an amazing job of making them cool. The starfighters you see in BSG are called Vipers, and there are a couple different varieties. When the Battlestar Pegasus shows up, later in the show, they add their shiny new Viper Mark 7s. The Starf...
Wait. Hang on a second. Hang on a second. Hang on a second. Wait a second. Hang on a second. Chat, what do you think? What do you think? How close? Yeah? Okay. Oh well. Yeah, but FDL's a little bit, well, it's got a little bit too thick of an ass.
Fighter you probably associate most with the name is the Viper Mark II, the type of fighter kept aboard the elderly and about to be decommissioned Battlestar Galactica when the Cylons attack.
Yeah,
the Viper
that's
Mark
fair,
II
Lord
is
Ravens.
outdated and old, but capable, and it serves the colonial fleet well as they fight their way to Earth. They have the best launching system in science
no, Ray,
fiction.
be honest
It's both
with it. I'm
incredibly
wrong.
thrilling and extremely practical if you're a carrier looking to launch its fighters quickly. Vipers are propelled down a tube and expelled from the Battlestar at high velocity, giving them a shot at getting clear of the ship without being blown up if it's currently under heavy fire. Landing is a little more conventional. Vipers fly in and set down in one of its Battlestar mothership's landing pods, where they are later reloaded into the ship's launch tube.
God, that was a horrible landing.
Vipers are also some of the most realistic fighter craft ever used in science fiction. They work on real space physics, with the ability to use...
Cheer 100 Love Me the MK. 2, really limited only by what load the pilot could bear. Also inside the Battlestar universe there is a conical MK. 3 which is heavier armed. INCORECT the squadron stationed aboard BSG-75 Galactica in the beginning of the miniseries CI assisted of MK. IV.
TT is gonna have a heart attack on the end there. Okay. Wait, okay. Full disclosure, chat. I've never watched Battlestar. I've never watched Battlestar Galactica. I've never seen it. So, I know of it. I've seen, a couple clips here and there, but I've never actually seen Battlestar Galactica. Please don't kill me. I just never had the, I never had the urge to jump into it or anything. And nowadays, it's hard to get into new TV shows.
maneuvering jets to turn 180 degrees and face backwards while still continuing to move in the same direction. Taking full advantage of realistic space physics is something all the ships on this list have in common. Except the
okay, it had the retros. Interesting.
Except the ones from Star Wars.
It had the retros there. Interesting. Okay. Oh, who's number one?
It begins. Launch fighters.
What? What is this? The Starfury?
Babylon 5 is the greatest science fiction franchise that modern viewers ignore.
Babylon 5.
It's held back by the show's early 90s level computer-generated space battles.
Okay, I never saw this one either.
Because amongst all that computer-generated imagery are some of the best starship designs in all of science fiction. The best of the show's ships is, without question, the Starfury.
It's an interesting design. So, did the creators of Babylon 5 decide to say, what if a TIE fighter and an X-Wing fucked and had a baby? Because, let's be honest, this is what would happen if a TIE fighter and an X-Wing had a baby. Did they? Angel, is that what the makers of the show said? Is that what they equated it to? Yeah, that is a TIE fighter cockpit with X-Wings. Nice. Okay, yeah, it definitely does look like it. Logic, I tend to do that a lot. That's why I've had to start renting out my brain cell.
Without question, the Starfury.
I know there's an interceptor, but it doesn't look like
the Starfury was
that.
an Earth Force standard for decades. It's the ship Jeffrey Sinclair rode into certain doom at the Battle of the Line. It's the ship Babylon 5 originally comes equipped with, complete with this insanely cool launching sequence, dispensing Starfuries, like the
Interesting.
stations firing infinite death into the cosmos. Starfuries may be the most realistic starfighters on this list, and also the most deadly.
Realistic?
Babylon 5
How?
Starfighter was co-designed by Ron Thornton and Steve Berg. Their intention from the start was to use the ship as a means to showcase how Newtonian physics could be portrayed in space combat. It's something that could not be done
Interesting.
with practical models. It could only happen in CGI, and they wanted to take full advantage of being the first to use it on a
Yeah, I
television
noticed
show.
that, Falcon.
Newtonian physics gives Starfuries a huge advantage over less
Okay.
realistic starfighters.
Okay, I can see it.
You wouldn't want to try and take on a Starfury in a slow banking X-Wing. The Starfury uses attitude jets to maneuver, but also its 4 powerful engines, which allow it maneuverability unmatched by any other science fiction vessel. Fly up behind a Starfury, and you may find yourself in front of it
Okay.
instead. You'll only have a millisecond to look into the eyes of your executioner. After the Starfighter's pilot uses space
I mean, okay, let's be realistic here, chat. Several other ships on this list have been able to do the same thing. You know, the Viper from Babylon could do it. The X-Wing could do it. We've seen the X-Wing do that. Thank you, anonymous gifter. Yeah, we've seen the X-Wing do it too. They did it like in the new. Granted, it was in the newer movies where they finally started actually working more Newtonian physics into it. But again, the original Star Wars did come out in the 70s, so. But other ships in this list have used Newtonian physics for maneuverability, so. I don't see how this one is more deadly versus, say, like the Viper or the Gunstar. It could, yeah. I think maybe he might have been better served not making it a tier list, and instead just basically said, in no particular order, here are some of the 5 of the deadliest space fighters. That I think he would have been better served just doing it as a in no particular order and just presented 5 of them, because a lot of the characteristics that they're ascribing to this ship have been with the other ships too.
physics to spin his ship around 180 degrees and blast you in the face, with the Starfury's 4 forward-facing pulse cannons, all while maintaining his original speed and course. The Starfury is a ship purpose-built for battle in space. It can't enter an
Ember Cheer 100. You should at some point give BSG and spin-off a watch. Chronological start is Caprica, but the story starts with the miniseries from 03. And yeah, all vessels in BSG have RCS either powered by burning primary fuel or having a supply of inert gas. Like attitude control on current space capsules is performed.
Okay. I mean, BGS is a pig series. And realistically, I don't have a whole hell of a lot of free time to be watching TV. I haven't watched TV in a very long time, so maybe I'll be able to get to it? I don't know.
atmosphere, because that's not what it's designed to do. It also can't generate its own jump point, though the ship can use pre-existing jump gates to enter and travel through hyperspace. Starfuries are often in battle and get blown up a lot, so they've built in a mechanism that allows pilots to get out of them fast. Simply hit the panic button, and the entire cockpit ejects from the engine assembly and floats off into space. Later in the show, Babylon 5...
That's another one of those. So, again, that sounds like a design flaw, but he did just say they get blown up a lot. So I guess they're it's a negative, but I think that's factored in as they're meant to kind of be disposable. And they just mass produce the fuck out of them. That's, based on what he was just saying, that's what it sounds like.
adds a new type of starfighter to its arsenal. They're a Starfury variant called Thunderbolts, and they're easily distinguished from the older models by their long noses. Thunderbolts are designed to
Even
fly
more
in
of an
atmosphere
X-Wing.
as well as in space, so I guess in that sense they have some advantage. But the original Starfury's unobstructed view and likely better turning radius would make it my starfighter of choice. Babylon 5's Starfury is the best sci-fi starfighter. Beat it if you can. Until next time,
Yeah.
this has been Giant Freakin Robot.
Well now.
If you value your lives, be somewhere else.
Okay, I'll go away.